World Possible, our mission is to connect offline learners to the world's knowledge. And we came about basically because 52% of the world's population now, in 2018, believe it or not, still does not have access to the internet. That's because it's either not available at all, or it's too expensive, or it's unreliable, and it just doesn't work in their region. And so our goal really is to take all of the wealth of educational content that's available online, some of which we heard about this morning, like Khan Academy and Fantastic Phonics, and make it work offline, so that all those people that you see on the right side of the screen can also access the information they need to learn and do research and thrive, really, in their communities. And as we all know, as people working in these developing regions, those who are offline are already marginalized in so many other ways. If you're offline, those are the populations that are not literate, that do not have access to schools or great teachers. So we see it really as an imperative to get information and education to these offline learners. So we have a pretty modest story. We were started by the guy standing there, Norberto Mujica. He's originally from Argentina, and he's a Cisco systems engineer now based in California. And as part of the Cisco Systems corporate social responsibility program, he traveled to Ethiopia to teach a class at a university. And when he first arrived, this lab of computers was completely locked up, dusty, had never been used because they don't have access to internet. And he thought, wait a minute, I'm a systems engineer, I can solve this problem. What they really needed was content for that internet. So he built the first version of Rachel. This was back in 2008, before the Raspberry Pi computer was available, and before storage was as cheap as it is now. So the first version of Rachel was really just a piece of software that sat on a computer and turned it into a server and a router so that all the other computers could access content. And he got a bunch of Ethiopian textbooks and put them on it, and that was Rachel kind of version 1. He went back the next year with 3 other Cisco systems engineers to Ethiopia, and they brought back the very first version of Rachel in 2009. And we're still pretty small today. I'm going to talk about all the things that we do, but we were actually an all-volunteer-run organization from 2008 all the way through 2014. We had our first paid staff member, who is still our director now, Jeremy Schwartz. Some of you probably know him. He's based in California. He became our first paid staff member in, I believe it was the end of 2014 or early 2015. And now there are 3 of us based in the US. And then I'll talk a bit about our chapters, who are independent but also have staff members working around the world. So basically, these are the 3 ways, OER2Go, Rachel, and chapters, that we use to get the best content that we can from online to the offline community. OER, as you probably know, stands for Open Educational Resources. And our idea is to take these open educational resources that are freely available online and package them so that they work offline. Basically, we call it the web unplugged. These are all of the different content sources that we work with. In some cases, it's modified by other groups like Learning Equality, who makes the offline version of Khan Academy, and we just have to do a little bit of extra work to make it work on Rachel. Same with Wikipedia, that's made by another organization called Kiwix. But most of these, our very small team takes, and we have some tools. We built some tools that make it a lot easier. It doesn't take a whole year anymore to build an offline version of a website like Fantastic Phonics. But we basically scrape websites. We modify all of the videos and photos so that they fit. They don't take up as much space. And we make them work offline. And as you can see, some of these are very large and famous things like TED Talks, and some of them you've probably never heard of because they might be very local, specific just to West Africa, for example, for the senior school examination, study guides, and that sort of thing. Some of it is for basic learning, like English literacy, Spanish literacy, French literacy, mathematics, and covering the various sciences and other school subjects. Some of it is more vocational, like agricultural information, textbooks on how to start a sustainable business, all kinds of different things. So we try to make it a wealth of content that's just always growing. It's mainly in English, Spanish, and French, but our partners use it in lots of parts of the world, and anyone can upload their own content. So we do have instances, for example, where one of our partners, NetHope, uses Rachel in Germany for refugees, and there they have both how to learn German content and Arabic language content on Rachel. So it can be used, it's meant to be a very open and flexible tool. This is the content we've done so far, but anyone can add their own. This is an example of, or just a screenshot of the website, oer2go.org, and it's just to show you that anyone with an internet connection can go there anytime and download any of our modules for free. So you don't actually have to have a Rachel in order to use what we do. We're just trying to make it as easy as possible to bring content anywhere. So you can go and download Fantastic Phonics directly onto 10 tablets and bring them anywhere from oer2go.org, and same with the other, I think we were up to about 140 different content modules, and we're adding new ones all the time. So then the second part of our solution is Rachel. I've got one here. This is what we all will get to connect to and try out, and it already has all of the OER2Go content preloaded onto it. But let me just also quickly tell you about our chapters and where we work and kind of what the scope of our impact is. So first of all, this is the map of all the deployments of Rachel that we know of in all the different countries around the world. I think we're up to 41 countries and counting, because anyone can buy Rachel and take it anywhere. So some of that can range from really large organizations to very small, like a group of volunteers who hear about Rachel and want to take it to a school that they're visiting in some remote area. We do have chapters, which are basically independent organizations called World Possible that focus on gathering local content, supporting local partners. And often they'll train teachers and make it really useful in their countries. Our first chapter started in Guatemala in 2014, so kind of around the time we also started having paid staff. And I love this photo because this is a middle school student making a drip irrigation system that he learned how to make using the Spanish language content on Rachel. He lives in a very dry community, and this allows them to farm for a longer and more extended period of time. We have an amazing team in Guatemala. There are 3 staff members there. They fundraise all of their own money, and they travel constantly in a truck to the most rural communities of Guatemala, bringing Rachel and often tablets or Chromebooks to schools that don't already have devices. So far, they've been to 160 different schools and trained 1,600 teachers. They have developed their own teacher training program that helps teachers learn how to not just write on the board and ask students to memorize what they've written, but to use more interactive methods, because when you bring content into a classroom, it also can really change the way that teachers need to think about teaching. So that's our first chapter. We next opened a chapter in Kenya. We have 1 staff person there. He's also done an amazing job. He's reached about 10,000 students in partnerships with local NGOs and trained about 130 teachers. Then we consider Sierra Leone a chapter. It's structured very differently because it's a partnership with 60 Million Girls and Cone Canada. But Samuel, the staff member there, is in close contact with us as well and can support other organizations wanting to use Rachel. This number is maybe a little outdated. I should have checked that with you. That was the last number we got about how many students he's managed to reach with their mobile learning labs. But we think it's just incredible what they're doing, and I'm so glad you get to hear directly from Wanda all about them. Our next chapter was opened in a kind of surprising location. In the United States, we found that the prison system really wanted access to Rachel as an alternative to the internet, because they weren't able in many cases to provide internet to prisoners because of issues that come up with that. But they did want to provide educational opportunities. And so now we actually have Rachel in 14 states. Some of them are just piloting, others are using it statewide, like in California and Oregon and a few others. They have Rachel in all of their prisons, either for youth or adults or both. And we have 1 staff member who's just focused on getting Rachel into prisons and modifying content as they require. Just this January, we opened up a new chapter in Tanzania, so she's just getting started, but we have an amazing person working for us there. And then starting next month, we'll have a chapter in Ghana, and we have another amazing volunteer. Both of Jacqueline and Mustafa have been volunteering for a long time and are very familiar with Rachel, and we're so excited that they'll be gathering local content for their communities and supporting any NGOs like you guys if you wanted to do some work there. So overall, we have 6 chapters. But our partners, around 134 of them, have taken Rachel to 41 countries. We've shipped over 1,600 Rachels, and that's growing all the time. Same with our content modules. I think we're over 140 now. And it's hard to estimate our reach because we make our tools free and available to everyone. We don't always hear back about where they go or who's using them. But we roughly estimate we've reached about 500,000 learners so far.